live.
Hello. We're live on location in Kamloops at the Paramount Theatre. My name is Todd Sullivan. This is Kelsey Bell. Say hello.
Hi.
And we are joined with Colette Abbott, the new executive director of the Kamloops Film Society. Hello, Colette. Thank you for taking some time to chat with us today.
Thanks for coming down to the theater.
Yeah. Let's just start with your background. Tell us how you came to be here in Kamloops and kind of in charge of the Kamloops Film Society. What's that journey look like for you?
Sure. Let's see. I started the position in January of this year. But before that, I was working at the Thompson Nicola Film Commission for just like a few months. Like it was a short-term contract.
Okay.
But before that, I was in Toronto working for a number of different kind of film-related projects. I worked for Entertainment Tonight Canada as a publicist there. I worked for the Toronto International Film Festival. And I worked with a lot of independent filmmakers, a lot of documentary filmmakers actually, that were looking to create impact campaigns around their films. So a lot of coordinating with different nonprofit partners and building a campaign around the launches of the films. But yeah, I moved to Kamloops in the very beginning of the pandemic.
Fun.
Yeah, not fun, but it was like totally the perfect move. We went from like a downtown Toronto condo. I have two young kids, and so that just was not a fun place to be in the beginning, in the early days of the pandemic. My husband grew up in Kamloops. My in-laws lived here. They just happened to have a few extra rooms. So we kind of invited ourselves to move in with them. And it was supposed to be a temporary room or a temporary move at first. But once we got here, both my husband and I were like, why would we ever go back? It's so beautiful here. We just love the terrain and just love going hiking and all the outdoor activities here.
It's a slower pace too.
It is. It's a slower pace, yeah. and then once we decided we didn't want to go back, then in the next step was kind of, okay, what sort of arts and culture things are here, and so then that began a journey of kind of trying to explore all the different the Western Canada Theatre. Like I was we were really into like arts and culture stuff, and also like my kids are really into sports, so it just had that perfect combination of activities for us, and yeah. We bought a house, and now we're here for good.
Well, that's fantastic. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
So that's interesting. I had expected that you might have come for the job at the KFS, but you were already here.
I was already here. That
how fortunate is that?
Sweetened the deal,
yeah.
and made it like a place that we really want to call home and stay here for the long term.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding part of this job so far?
I think the most rewarding part is that the job comes with like a built-in community. Ooh, and that's like the best part. Like there's an amazing board of directors, like so many volunteers. Volunteers are kind of coming in and out of this theater on a daily basis. They all have different interests, passions, but the love of film, the love of community engagement kind of brings us together. Yeah. And being relatively new to Kamloops, like that was what I was looking for, and it's been really great.
Like an instant family for you.
Totally.
Yeah,
and just like so many lovely collaborations with other organizations, other nonprofits, other arts and culture organizations in the city. So my network went from being like fairly small to just insanely wide.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also have connections that you could probably possibly bring here because you're from the big city.
Totally.
Like
And so
Vancouver.
Those things are starting to come about. Actually, one of our films that we're showing in July called Plastic People is directed by a friend of mine, Zaya Tong, who we used to host this little salon series at the Soho House in Toronto where we would show documentaries. It was invite only, and it was just a lovely mix of like media personalities and activists and artists. Like Naomi Klein and Avi Lewis would come out. Like we had like the head of the CTV television. It was just a nice, interesting combination of people. We'd program these documentaries, have great conversations after. So she made this film over the last couple of years, and as soon as it came out, I was like, oh, you really have to show it. She just happened to be in Vancouver in July, so we're going to bring her up. She's not too far away. She's going to do a Q&A after the film. That film, it's a documentary about the pervasiveness of plastics in our environment.
Microplastics.
Microplastics, exactly. So a bit of its own. It's not a horror film, but it's a little scary. But Zaya, she used to co-host the Daily Planet on Discovery Channel.
Oh,
so a lot of people might recognize her. She's a science journalist. She's written books. She's just she's a lovely personality, whip smart. One of the most amazing people I know. So she'll be really great. It'll be great to have her here and get to talk to her. And,
I think she's got dark hair.
Yeah. She used to grow, she was in Vancouver first and then moved to Toronto.
Neat.
You'd probably recognize her.
I think so.
Yeah.
I used to watch that show.
Yeah.
Neato.
Yeah. So what sparked your sort of initial interest in a career in this sort of field in film?
In film? I'd say, way back when I was in high school, my best friend's older sister was studying film at UBC, at the University of British Columbia, and she was doing her big film project for her 4th year, whatever, and my friend and I just were PAs, production assistants, so we just kind of hung out on set and, we were craft services. We would get the food and just kind of hang out and set up. And it was just so fun to get that behind the scenes kind of aspect that I totally fell in love with it at that point. And then, I don't know, I feel like there was just other opportunities along the way. In my early 20s, I went to a Vancouver Film Festival screening and saw the documentary The Corporation. It's one of Canada's top grossing films of all times. And I was just kind of blown away. I was just lots of great ideas. I really saw a lot of potential for impact. It was just one of those films that kind of changed my thinking at the time. And being sort of young and naive 20-something-year-old, I was like, well, I'm just going to email the director and see what, he's from Vancouver, see if I can I was into informational interviews at that point. I think I had read these books about, it was What Color's Your Parachute or something. So I emailed him, and I will say I had a slight connection because the friend that I went with to that film festival screening happened to go to high school with one of the producers. So there was a little, we shook hands. I met the director briefly, just said hi as I was going into the film. I emailed him and saying, hey, I'm really interested in documentaries. Are you doing any projects, or can I help? Can I volunteer with anything? And that kind of turned out into a volunteer job where I was just kind of helping with their grassroots marketing. And I'd say that's where I kind of learned about kind of working on impact campaigns for documentaries. Right. And that's kind of where that kind of led to my publicity work, doing PR and stuff for films, working in film festivals,
So you prefer more of the behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think so.
Filmmaking, yeah.
I don't like to be in the spotlight as much. I'm more of work behind the scenes and make the magic happen and let other people kind of steal the show. But I just collaborations. I really believe in the impact of film. I think still there's not really a lot of opportunities you get to sit in a room. Your phone should be off and you're, sharing this experience. You're watching this story with, a couple of 100 other people. And a really good film will give you goosebumps. It'll, inspire you. You'll learn something. You're, at the very least, you're going to feel like you're not alone. You're going to feel some sort of connection, right? And that's the magic of film. But what do you do with that? I think there's a lot of power. Do you just do you let everybody leave the theater just with that feeling? So that's one thing you can do. But especially with documentaries that have issues behind them, I love channeling that kind of emotional reaction into action.
Right, the test.
Totally. So it's what do you do with that? Well, then you learn something, you saw this experience, but then there's tangible things that you could actually go home and do. You could trim your cedar hedges, and for those of you who don't know, The Test was a documentary that was shot in Logan Lake, and it was about, Logan Lake was the first fire smart city or community, I guess, in North America. And they very narrowly escaped being totally devastated by a wildfire. What was that? 2 years ago, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a stream with Vesta, the
nice.
director.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That was a totally great example of a film with meaning behind it and purpose.
Definitely.
And it inspired me to clean my cedars at home. I really did.
Right? I didn't even know that there was fire safe plants, but now when I'm shopping for plants, I'm oh, it's just an extra thing to think about, right?
Yeah.
One of those things you don't know until you know.
Exactly.
But that's a good point too. That talking about seeing a film and either walking away with the feeling that you felt carried with you, But also with documentaries, quite often they can be, like The Corporation or like, some of like Michael Moore's films, they can be kind of depressing.
Yes.
And you can be leaving the theater with kind of a bogged down negative feeling.
Totally. Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had more of a tolerance for those types of films earlier in my life, and I feel like maybe life gets heavier the older you get,
Oh, I think
and
so, certainly.
the more you live, and we tend to naturally. Well, I've gravitate more towards those lighter-hearted films, and actually, when I'm thinking about programming films for our older audience, like that sort of 60 plus, when I've talked to them, I'm like, what kind of films do you want to see? Comedy is like the first thing that usually comes out of their mouth, like something
Let
that's
loose.
light, like something that's just like a feel-good film, like
Nostalgia's a big thing
and
too.
nostalgia, totally, like those sort of like warm feelings that you
Yeah.
want, connection, nostalgia, all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting.
It's really great that you care about what others think and want.
Yeah, I'd say like that's, I mean, in terms of programming films, that's like, I don't program for myself. That's the last person that I would program for. I feel like my job is to program for the community and really kind of talk to people and hear what they want to see. I can't say I'm like a huge horror film fan, but horror films do really, really well here. We have such an amazing collaboration with Drunk in a Graveyard. So we just we're launching this Summer Screams.
I am so stoked for this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, Summer Screams, it launches in July. So every Saturday night at 7 o'clock, we're showing a horror movie. And these are like old classic horror movies that a lot of people will recognize.
Do people dress up?
You can dress up. People dress up. We give away door prizes. The Drunk in a Graveyard is like a local podcaster, and they're just really great. They're the hosts for those events. They always have great prizes. There's trivia. People dress up. We might maybe think about bringing in some like live music to play before some of the
rad.
films. So we're just looking at different ideas for that. So yeah.
I think the last Drunk in a Graveyard screening I went to was The Exorcist, and that was a really, really good one.
Yes.
They had the people putting their sins in
Oh, right.
the
They do,
confessional
right?
hat or whatever.
Yes,
And
and
then
they come with great costumes too.
they did too, yeah. And then they think they had somebody who had a costume of like Reagan actually floating off of the bed. The bed was like an actual part of the costume
wow.
that they could pretend to float off of. Very epic.
Very cool.
Holy shit.
They probably took that part off when they were watching the film. I think they wore it just for the costume competition, but yeah, they came in first.
That'd be the worst person to sit behind.
You wouldn't be able to
But
see
you know what?
anything.
I love so Robin is one of the organizers of the Drunk in a Graveyard screenings, and one of the things she said, she loves seeing sort of that next younger generation coming out to her films, because for her, horror films like kind of helped her tap into a community where she felt like she could meet other like-minded people,
Yeah.
right? And so seeing these younger kids, maybe just graduated high school, or maybe in like grade 11 or 12, showing up with like all decked out in their like outfits and lots of makeup and crazy hair, like she's just, I don't know, I feel it feels like it's nice to see that people can come and still see that there's a community. for
Yeah,
people, 'cause-
totally.
Yeah, so it's nice.
Yeah, I dragged my kid out to The Exorcist in a nightgown to be Reagan, and I was dressed as a priest, and
Reagan was Reagan.
Anything goes.
Reagan was Reagan, yeah, exactly. And she wasn't impressed. She actually thought it was kind of boring, The Exorcist.
really?
I was disappointed, but
Yeah, the younger generation, I'm just so sad. I'm like, you think it's so, like, they think it's tacky, all the old 80s.
Not
horror-
everybody.
not everybody, and it
everybody.
depends on
Not
the
everybody. Sorry, not everybody. But I'm bummed out. I'm like,
depends on the film too, because Reagan really enjoyed Night of the Living Dead, which I would not have guessed, because that's even older and in black and white. So, not as appealing to a younger generation, but
Older films are a lot slower, though, hey? The slower pace.
Yeah.
That might be
and
a thing.
the pace of the editing definitely
Yeah.
changes too. Yeah. Sorry, not to go off on a
Yeah, sorry, we can talk about
horror movies.
all day.
Can you? Because Robin wouldn't tell me. Can you name any of the films that are coming for the?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see. I Know What You Did Last Summer,
Yeah.
Midsummer, Evil Dead 2,
Ooh.
Jennifer's Body.
Okay.
And there's like a mix of like some bigger, like
Yeah.
more recognizable ones and more kind of cult classics.
Midsummer's not that old.
Yeah, no, it's not that old.
Yeah.
What else? The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, is that like the original?
Yes, most of
Very
them
cool.
like either original or director's cut
Yeah.
or like the 4K restoration. So
Right.
yeah, but you'll have to check out the website.
I will.
Well, maybe check it out in a couple of days because we're just working on putting it on the website.
I looked the day that the announcement,
Yeah.
the first thing for I Know What You Did Last Summer was up on Facebook. I was like, I gotta know.
Yeah, Facebook actually has it faster than our website, but I'd say like in about 3 days they'll all be up on the website. So.
Perfect. I'll look for it.
And what a great way to cool down in the summer. Go to a cold theater.
Right?
Actually, it's perfect temperature.
Yeah.
Have an icy drink.
Icy
Totally.
drink and yeah, scare,
You know, warmish popcorn.
Yeah.
scare the food out of you.
Was there anything like when you first started as the executive director here? Was there anything sort of front of mind that you wanted to try to bring to films here in Kamloops or to the Paramount or whatever?
I think my main focus was kind of going out into the community and figuring out what was emerging, like what like connecting with different organizations, different cultural groups, and sort of seeing like where's the demand, like what kind of films do people want to see, and create those connections and partnerships and collaborations and program from there. And I think it's just starting to kind of slowly emerge, and there's so much potential for different collaborations. Back in February, as part of our Thursday film series, we showed a film called The Boy and the Heron, which is Japanese anime, Studio Ghibli.
That was a huge turnout to that, wasn't it? Like you were sold out.
We were sold out both theaters.
Yeah.
Which we couldn't even, like the lineup was all the way down, more than a block down the street. We had to open up all the doors just to even get people in the door. We could barely
Wow.
get people in. I think we had to start both of the films slightly late, but everyone was in such a good mood. And we had the Japanese dubbed version in one theater, and then
Oh,
we had
neat.
the English dubbed version in one theater,
then
and then the
subtitled in
Japanese with the subtitles in the other version. And like the really like dedicated anime fans wanted to see the Japanese version,
Yeah.
and then people that were more new to it would watch the English dubbed, and yeah, it was amazing. So maybe I would love to collaborate with some like anime groups. I know TRU has like an anime club. There's a few different groups in Kamloops. I think that would be great to connect with and maybe do like an anime series in the fall or something. So yeah.
Was that degree of response a surprise, or did you have a
Yes.
sense that it was going to be pretty big?
I mean, I can't take credit for that one because I literally started in January and that was early February. I think like the people, like the Thursday Film Committee knew that there was a demand, but we didn't know that there was that much demand.
Yeah.
Because that film apparently played at the Cineplex for a very short while, but
Okay.
but when like I was lurking around and hanging out in the theaters and being like, how did you hear about this film? And they're like, oh, I've been waiting for this film to come and show on the big screen. And just like, we were just couldn't, like, there was like this pent up demand for this film. Everyone wanted to see it on the big screen. So it's just, how do you find out about other films that people want to see and bring it to them, right? So,
Yeah. So what are some of the newer events or newer, because I feel like for example, I don't know if it's just ended or was recent, the Queer Film Festival was going on.
Right.
I felt like that was sort of
that
a
was
relatively new. Yeah.
Totally. That was new. So newer initiatives this year. In February, we had the first Kamloops Black Film Festival.
Okay.
And so that was in collaboration with the Valid Dreams Foundation and the Kamloops Caribbean Cultural Society. And that was in Black History Month in February. So that was new. That was 3 days, 6 films. And then, we had the Kamloops Queer Film Festival that just finished last weekend.
Okay.
That one kicked off with a big drag show.
Oh, cool.
And then we had 3
the
days
stage?
of films. The big stage next door in the larger theater. And that was great. That was in partnership with Kamloops Pride, and they put so much effort and love into it. It was fantastic. They decorated the lobby. Like there was Bhangra dancing before some of the films.
Wow.
Like there was just every film had so much thought and effort put into it. I was like, and I can't even take credit for that because that was Kamloops Pride, and then our general manager Radhika was kind of leading that, and I think it was a big success.
And so did they actually like sort of figure out the films to screen, or was that yours?
Yeah. So what we do with all of these micro festivals, we have a festival committee, and so really for for the Queer Film Festival, it was an all-queer festival committee. So we look to them. We see ourselves as more like the facilitators. Like, we have the venue, we can book the films and stuff, but we really look to the committee to tell us what kind of films they want to see. We provide some guidance and sort of, help with like, oh, what films could we actually get? But really, we look to them to kind of program what they want to see on the screen, what's missing really, because a lot of that, it's about representation and like what films are we not getting on the big screen and seeing. So really being mindful about and choosing those films carefully to make sure that there's a wide variety. I'd say the festival committees do that for all of our festivals. With the Black Film Festival, we have an Indigenous Film Festival that's happening in October. We're just starting to kind of start the meetings probably in the next week about to start planning for that.
Any other sort of, little mini festivals or
Mini
events or
festivals?
things coming up that you're excited about?
We are currently fundraising to hopefully bring the Metropolitan Opera
Right.
live stream to the Paramount Theatre. So that literally, again, that was just one of our longtime Film Society volunteers just approached me and said, hey, like, is it possible, could we please, like, the Cineplex stopped streaming the Met live stream last year, like, is it possible to bring it to the Paramount? So we kind of looked into it, and, I sort of said, well, again, like the Film Society's actual staff is very small. There's just 2 full-timers and then a couple part-timers and then our front of house staff. So we don't have the capacity to do everything. But I sort of said, if we can raise $10,000, which would cover the licensing fees for the opera, there's 8 operas that happen from October till May.
Oh, so it'd be for like an entire season of opera.
It's a whole season. You have to commit to the whole season.
Wow.
So it's 8 events. Each event is around 3 hours long because operas are typically quite long. In New York City, the operas start at 1, so here they would start at 10 a.m. So you would walk into the theater, grab your seat, and then starting at about 9:30, the live stream would start, and you get to see all of the people that are walking in their, lovely
Their
outfits,
gowns
their gowns. Well, you can come in your pajamas if you want and just eat popcorn or whatever. I think we're probably gonna have like coffee and tea and like baked goods because it's the morning.
Exactly.
But you could watch that experience, like watch people arriving, and then the live stream has one of their opera singers is like a host of the live stream, so they kind of explain what's happening, which is nice if you're new to opera, right? To sort of say like, oh, this is what's going to be happening in the first act, give you a bit of context, and then during the intermissions. You get these whole like behind the scenes tours. You'll get interviews with the stage managers. You get to sort of see all the elaborate set changes. So there's a lot of actual cool things that happen. Hopefully we launched the fundraiser a week ago, and we've already raised over $5,000 out of the $10,000 goal. So I'd say
that's a good start.
It's a good start. I'd say it's very likely going to happen.
Yeah.
What's
the deadline of the fundraiser?
I said probably another 2 weeks or so. Yeah,
Wow.
just because we need enough time.
No pressure.
No pressure. But I'm in touch. We have a potential sponsor that could help us kind of get over the last little bit if we get pretty close. And it actually turns out this is actually doing a fundraiser like this is a great way to kind of see what the community interest is.
Sure,
like.
yeah.
Just people have called me up saying, "Oh, I really want to donate. I would love to see this." So it's just nice to know that if we do it, there's actually an appetite for it, and people will actually show up and buy tickets.
So if somebody, obviously, there's donations if somebody wants to donate, but then I guess there would be like a ticket to attend as well that's separate.
So once we say, okay, we've got enough to, we've raised that $10,000 to take away the financial risk, then the next phase is, putting it on our website so people can buy the tickets. The tickets will be probably $30 for a ticket, or $25 if, we'll probably do like a season's pass where you can get, the equivalent would be like $25 per
right,
per
and it would be like
if you
30
buy,
or whatever
if you buy for like the whole season.
Yeah.
But it should be fun. I've been in touch with Christopher Young, who's the executive director at the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, and he said that a lot of the music teachers and voice teachers in the community are interested in bringing their students to see the opera because it provides another learning opportunity and place to expose those music and voice students to just another type of musical event and stuff. So there's lots of possible collaborations in the community that I'm excited
Definitely.
about. Yeah.
I feel like the Cineplex, when it was doing that sort of thing, was not getting very heavily promoted.
Yeah,
It almost seemed to be like buried or ignored.
I mean, I can't remember hearing about it. I
Yeah.
think if you went to their website and looked under their, it's probably one of their special events, or maybe
Yeah.
they're on their mail list or something. But yeah, and I think there was a very small, dedicated crowd. Like
Sure.
they'll be able to tell you the exact 5 people that showed up every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it'll work well. Like we're even talking about having like our ushers dress up in opera costumes,
Fun.
and maybe like partnering with like a local restaurant and having like a pre-opera breakfast where we could have opera singers, like local opera singers, come and like sing in the background and stuff. So yeah, lots of.
Would
fun
you like
things
some
we could do.
eggs?
Really interactive and
Totally. And then I guess the other thing is seeing an opera in a sort of a casual movie theater setting. Honestly, like it's more accessible because the
Totally,
tickets
yeah.
are a lot cheaper
Yeah.
than buying a plane ticket and buying a ticket to the Metropolitan Opera.
As you said, you
It's
can come in your
It's
pajamas.
low bar. If you don't know if you like opera, $25 is like not a
Yeah.
lot of money to just see if you like it.
Exactly.
And then we're also talking about, so Heidi Mundell, who's actually a local opera singer who sang opera in Europe, but now is like an opera voice teacher here. She is interested in potentially assigning some of her students to study one of the operas. So she would say, okay, you study this first opera, and then maybe like do a bit of an educational event before the event. So people who want to learn a little bit about the history or about like the mechanics of opera singing,
Yeah.
or a little bit of sort of the historical context could learn before they go to the event, which I think would actually, like, at least for me, I don't know a ton about opera. I think I've been to one in my life. Would just give me so much more of appreciation
Totally,
of the
yeah.
actual event. So yeah, that could be exciting too.
Yeah.
really thought out. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
very
So-
interesting.
I like the growth in things that go beyond just sit down and watch a film. You know, like I was really I really enjoyed the screening of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was,
right?
and we streamed with gonna blank on her name.
Daniela.
Daniela, yeah.
Yes.
That would what a cool concept and what a cool thing to experience. And I'm glad
Cool
she
lady.
very cool lady.
Very cool lady. And that was actually like our highest. I mean, we showed it in the fall, but then we showed it again as part of our Kamloops Film Festival,
yeah.
right? And that was our highest rated event. Like it was a film and music kind of hybrid event.
Yeah.
And so I think we definitely need to do more of those.
I would love to see more of that.
yeah,
It's
that
such
was-
a unique opportunity, such a
Yeah.
unique experience.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Any other sort of ongoing or upcoming exciting things to talk about? Or
So opera, we have. So the Thursday Film Committee or Thursday Film Series is something that generally runs from September till May, I guess. But this summer, for the first time, they're doing a summer series.
oh, okay.
Like in the past, we used to have a drive-in cinema.
Yeah.
But our screen was destroyed by the wind, and so currently we are not doing that. Well, at least this summer we're not doing it. If we could find a permanent location that wasn't too windy, then we could look at maybe bringing that back. But for this summer, because we weren't doing the drive-in, Thursday Film Series committee decided to do a summer film series. So that's where that documentary I mentioned, The Plastic People, is going to be screening, and they're screening 4 climate kind of focused films starting next Thursday and just running for 4 weeks. So yeah, so that's something that's new.
So what is the focus of the Thursday film series, if it has a focus?
Right. So the Thursday Film Series is our longest running program.
Yeah.
I think the Film Society kind of started with the Thursday Film Series. So currently that's a panel of about 8 or 9 committee members. And they tend to program more art house, more kind of films that you'd see in a festival, ones that are a little bit more focused on the art of cinema. So they're not always big crowd pleasers. They're definitely not the blockbusters. They're more of like ones where there's a I guess the motivation is to appreciate the sort of the art of cinema. So some of them can be maybe a little bit more challenging to watch, but you can learn lots. They're really great conversation starters. A lot of like award-winning cinematographers from around the world, like both Canadian and international filmmakers and stuff. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, because, I get a little bored of blockbuster movies. Like explosions and CGI and just so much excitement all the time. It's there's something about the art house, film noir,
Totally.
the
There's
underdog films that are just so much more artistic and interesting, gritty and raw.
Totally. And you just get such a different experience out of them, right? Like, so it's always fun to see what lineup they come up with, because they go and do their research and then they come back with their list of films that they want to program, and so there'll be even the summer climate films. I'd say climate is sort of like the loose tie between them, but we're showing Sasquatch Sunset.
Oh, right.
So this is a very strange. So normally Sasquatch films are like B, low budget, kind of like obscure films. This has like Jesse Eisenberg, I think, right? There's no dialogue. It's all grunts and
they're like just picking gnats off each other
it's
or whatever.
Sort of like
It's so weird.
It's kind of like you're watching a documentary of Sasquatch family,
Yeah.
but obviously they're actors all dressed up in these outfits or costumes, I suppose. So it'll be interesting. I heard that when it first screened, a few people walked out because I feel like it's a little challenging, but but if you stick to the end, there's like sort of a surprise, a payoff at the end, if you will. But there's a lot of bodily functions, I think, in that film. Just a warning.
Sasquatch's got to go and a Sasquatch has got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So that's the first one that's playing next Thursday. There's also Next Goal Wins, which is it's like a sort of an underdog soccer film. And then there is Plastic People, which I touched on, and then Evil Does Not Exist, which is a Japanese film, a little bit slower paced, nature set in this beautiful forest outside of Tokyo. Slower paced film with like a nice, interesting. Well, again, like that one again. It's a good conversation starter because there's a lot of sort of like unexpected messages and like different interpretations and stuff. It's like humans' relationship to nature. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking.
Interesting.
I don't want to give too much away.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Is there anything, any particular film, any particular event so far that you've been like most proud of being able to bring to Kamloops or be able to bring to life or anything like that?
That's a hard one. I feel like anytime we're showing a film that has that little extra partnership or engagement activity, those are the ones that really like make my heart sing. Then I'm like, this is what I got into it for.
Yeah.
So I think, maybe most recently, just sitting in the theater when one of the queer film festivals films were showing, there was like like I was mentioning, like a flash mob of Bollywood dancers kind of happening. And it was just cool, like unexpected, and it's just fun because it's super colorful and lots of music, and people are really getting into it and everything. So I don't know, it's just every film and every film festival is such a different experience. It's just nice to kind of come out and. Actually, I still appreciate being at events with other people. Like, I know it's been a few years since the beginning of COVID, but it's nice to be in a theater again and like have that interaction and be able to talk and, not be like, stepping away from people. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about membership with the Film Society, because I think a lot of people are just sort of, they're aware of the films that come through here, maybe the festivals that come through here, but they don't necessarily think about becoming a member of the Film Society.
Right.
But I imagine like there's obviously perks. There's obviously reasons that people should be considering membership. What are some of them?
Sure. So for about $25 is like our base membership. The different perks you get discounts on your tickets. So you save about $2 on your admission. You get invited to, like, we have member screenings, like free member movies, every couple of months, I'd say. If we have like exclusive screenings or any sort of special events, like our members are the first ones that get invited. And then we also have this Movie Mart, which is a
Right.
So Movie Mart was the
old Movie Mart.
last video rental store in Kamloops that when they closed down, this was before my time, they reached out to the former executive director and said, hey, we're shutting our business down. Do you want all these DVDs? So they worked out a deal, and we got, I think, 26,000 DVDs and Blu-rays.
A lot.
So now if you come to our lobby, the lobby is lined with shelves of DVDs, and it's a bit like a trip through memory lane. You kind of like thumb through the DVDs, and you're like, oh, I haven't thought about this film in forever. So as a member, you get one free movie rental a week, or you can rent more. Just, I think it costs like $5 for a second one or whatever. So that's definitely a perk. But yeah, I'd say there's also like discounts on some popcorn and concession items too and stuff. But yeah, it's great when we have members, because that's one of the ways that we kind of sustain ourselves as a film society. You get added to our mail list, so you get our weekly emails, and just stay in the loop with all the films and festivals that are coming up and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it's convenient. I think it was the free member movies that got me into my membership initially, because at that time I think the membership was only $5.
Oh, okay.
And the member movies were only $5. It's like, well, I can get a membership
go.
and then a bunch of free
Exactly.
movies too. So.
Inflation.
Aging yourself, Todd. How long
I
ago
know.
was that?
I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. I'm not really.
Inflation's
It's inflation.
Yeah.
Right.
One of my favorite things that comes through the Paramount as part of the Kamloops Film Festival is the Kiss Fest. The Kamloops Independent Short Film
good for
Festival.
you. Yes,
Yes.
that is it.
I'm I believe a 5-time entrant. So
excellent.
yeah. Thank you.
You wanted that, didn't you?
I don't really care. Are there any thoughts on growth, changes,
Sure.
improvements, things like that in regards to the Kiss Fest?
Sure. So this past March, that was my kind of first
Yeah.
experience with the film festival, and I'd say like you said, like KISS was one of my favorite events. It was so great. So for those who don't know, this is really where local filmmakers, or regional filmmakers, can submit their films,
Yeah.
like 5 minutes or less. And then there's an amateur category and a professional category. And some of the best films are literally like the 11-year-old
Yes.
kid that made a stop animation
Yes.
Lego movie.
Yeah.
I think he won the audience. This one kid won the audience.
He
award
won
this
so many
year.
awards, and he was
Oh my
just
gosh.
glowing up
He was
there.
it was just amazing. So some of my favorite pictures of him, just like he was so nervous and excited
Yeah.
and couldn't believe he won. So I love those. Those kind of moments are just gold. So I guess we hold the Shorts Film Festival, and we give away those cash prizes and do a big awards ceremony and stuff. But then right after that, we have usually an industry event. So this year it was like the business of movie making, and that's where I met Vesta Giles, because we had Vesta on our panel.
Yeah, and CJ.
And CJ Beauclair, and then we had Terry Hadwin, the film commissioner.
yeah.
And we were just talking about, the business of filmmaking, everything from like the script development to how to fundraise for your film, all that kind of stuff. StoryHive came up, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of growth potential there. Just even talking to the other filmmakers, aspiring and merging and professionals, I think there's a real appetite for having more industry networking events, also bringing in some different experts and professionals to Kamloops, because a lot of people are like, oh, I always have to travel down to Vancouver to get these kind of professional professional development kind of things. But I think I think I've been in talks with other film organizations locally, maybe in the Film Commission, about how can we work together to maybe build up that program a little bit. Bring in some experts, kind of figure out what people are interested in learning, and we have the venue, and we may as well do it as part of the film festival.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a really great idea. I mean, to me, one of the things that's really cool about the Kiss Fest is the way that it encourages local people who anybody to just go out and try to make a film. Just because now, I mean, you can make an entire film on your phone practically.
Exactly.
You can shoot it, you can edit it, you can publish it.
And the concept could be anything, right?
Yeah,
Basically, yeah. So,
but then there's that question of, okay, I've made 2 or 3 short films. I want to further my education in filmmaking. What do I do now?
Right.
And so there's only that initial, which again is fantastic.
Yeah.
And without that, I mean, I'm sure that there's a ton of local, either professional filmmakers or even just people who've dabbled that never would have gotten started without the support of the Kiss Fest. But it is just that sort of that first step, and further encouragement and other opportunities and access to
Right.
information is just going to be more.
Because we don't have a film school in
Yeah.
Kamloops. I think the closest one is Kelowna, or you have to go to Vancouver. I mean, you can do some courses for like virtually, but it's not the same as actually like getting your hands on equipment with a bunch of other people, right?
you know, I've heard some people say, film school, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I guess it's-
sometimes you can just learn on the job.
Totally.
And I think that might be the best way. I think working on indie films is
For sure.
such a great way to learn.
And
it's
that's
free.
actually like one of the, like when I was working at the Film Commission, that's how a lot of people, like, they have a crew database of like all these people that are open to working in film when a production comes into the TNRD, really. But a lot of those people are, say, you know, maybe they're a caterer or they're a makeup artist, but who could also work in film. So they're just kind of open to those film opportunities. And I think I'd like to see a lot more film productions come to our region. I think we have so much to offer. We have beautiful locations, like everything from deserts to like rivers and lakes and forests, everything in between.
Such a variety, yeah.
Right? And we've had some great productions locally, right? Like Monarch, Monsters of, like that kind of Godzilla film that was shot out near Cache Creek in Ashcroft.
Jurassic Park.
Right, like just lots of different projects.
Wasn't
So-
The Last of Us 2 near
Last-
here not that long ago? It was rumored. I don't know if it was ever officially.
know.
I heard they were filming out
Wait,
near
maybe one episode. I can't remember.
Padova.
Potentially.
Yeah.
But you're right, like that, having productions, that's a great way. If you're not going to films, like you can get your foot in the door, and a lot of people I know have trained themselves through just kind of starting off as a PA and working their way up, right?
Because can you imagine spending all that money in film school? Not to, crap on film school, but like, can you imagine going through all that tuition money, all that time, and then learn, oh, I don't actually like this.
That's true.
I mean, that's the case with going to school for anything, though, right?
I guess they do, yeah, they do practical exams. I guess they would sort of figure it out on the way, but
Better to
I
try
think
it
it's
out
great
in
to
a
just
way. Yeah.
work on a set.
I think it depends too on what you want to get into. Like if you're wanting to do something more technical, like running a camera or running sound
Of
equipment,
course.
you're going to need some degree of training for that. But I mean, acting doesn't necessarily need. We've got a large number. Like we do have acting at TRU.
No?
WCT has some good
WCT has stuff.
Like we have like
Community
Kamloops,
theater stuff,
like,
improv.
School of the Arts and stuff. So
Yeah.
I just teach myself by just copying people on the TV. I try to
Perfect.
mimic.
Yeah.
That's my education.
I do it by pretending to be normal around other human beings.
There we
That's
go.
my practice. Yeah. You have any questions?
No, just complaints. about
Share one.
life. No.
Have I forgotten to ask anything? Anything you want to
What's
share
your
with
favorite
us?
movie, Colette?
Oh, my favorite movie. I mean, I feel like depending on the day, it changes. Today. I mean, the first one that always pops to my mind is Amelie, just because I think I went to the theater
Oh,
4
wow.
times to see it. I feel like I saw it for the first time. I was kind of in my early 20s when I watched it. And I just like the music, the production, like the colors, like they definitely had different film processing techniques. So all the like the reds and the greens really popped.
It's pretty vibrant.
It was very vibrant. I just thought it was like a whimsical. I don't know. It just spoke to me at that age. I dragged my sister. I dragged my mom. I was like willing to like buy anyone's movie ticket who would come with me. I have the DVD still. So yeah, I'd say that's my favorite. Just like guilty pleasure. Love it as a film experience. But I mean, I love so many films. Like. And it depends. Like when I took film classes at UBC back in the day, I think I watched Adam McGoyan's oh, it's gonna go. It was shot. Part of it was shot here. I'll have to remember.
The only one I can think of is The Sweet Hereafter.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. Again, it's a little bit. It's like a dark
It
film.
is, yeah.
But studying it from like a mise en scène and like cinematic way, like again, it's when an instructor kind of shows you what to look for,
Yeah.
you gain an appreciation. And I don't know, I just remember being really moved by that film. And then when I moved here, I actually learned that parts of the scene, like parts of that film, were actually shot in the TNRD, which is kind of a interesting little tidbit. So yeah, I don't know. And I love documentaries. It's still sort of like that's where I got my start. So I could talk about documentaries forever.
You have a favorite documentary?
I really love Errol Morris. Like I just like Fast, Cheap, and Out of Control. He did the Pigeon Tunnel most recently. Like he's just.
I don't think I've seen any of his documentaries.
Oh, you're in for a treat then.
Probably, yeah.
Like he is someone where he did The Fog of War too.
Yeah.
So I think he just takes very interesting people. And at first you're like, why would I really care about this person necessarily? But the way that he interviews them and just the connections that he's obviously made through the visuals he's showing as they're talking and doing the interview, you just feel like you get this whole crazy depth of understanding of who they are as a human being, and you end up learning something about your own psyche. It's just, I don't know. I just think he's a very talented filmmaker. So, yeah.
I should watch it.
You should.
Any of them,
notes.
you can't go wrong.
I think he wrote a short book on the Jeffrey McDonald murder case, and that's the only thing of his that I've interacted with.
I haven't read that one, so possibly, yeah.
What's your favorite movie, Todd?
My favorite movie is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We should show that one again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently just watched it. I've got a 4K DVD player at home for the first time, and I watched it on 4K. And it was extraordinary. The 4K transfer is just, but I think because it was shot on 70 millimeter,
Right.
they can do really, really high resolution scans. What is your favorite movie, Kelsey, and why is it Beetlejuice?
Why isn't it Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice was the movie that really, it taught me the F word. But that's not why I like it. I loved just the whole theatrical element of it and how it's so hands-on and handmade and pre-CGI and it's just so. Is that campy? Would that be called campy?
I really struggle with the definition of camp sometimes, but I feel like there's elements of it that would be
The costumes, the
right.
set.
Am I? Do you understand camp?
I mean, maybe not. I just, kind of push the boundaries, super creative, artistic. I don't know. Campy, yeah, that's maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. This is the first time I used that word for Beetlejuice, but Rocky Horror is campy, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with
Okay.
that.
So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what defines.
I don't know either. Do you know what defines campy? Every time I have this conversation with somebody, it always lands on we can't figure out what it is.
So bad it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I
Right.
don't have a perfect definition of it.
It's one of those things I think where people would say you feel it more than see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That. Yeah.
Cringe?
No,
Was
I don't think.
Beetlejuice
I think maybe camp can be cringe, but isn't necessarily. Yeah.
But yeah, Beetlejuice, I enjoyed it. It's definitely it's a cool film to watch. There's lots of visually interesting aspects.
And a sequel coming soon.
costumes.
Which you got to be excited about.
But so that inspired me to go to school for makeup. I went to
that makes
John
sense.
Casablancas in
Oh,
Vancouver.
totally. Yeah, I can see that.
But then, yeah, of course, it's a dying art doing monster makeup. It's not really,
It's all being replaced with CGI.
And it's
We're
so
both
expensive.
pretty big fans
Yeah,
of
but
practical
It's
effects.
still cool to get dressed up
Oh,
and
I
put all that
know.
makeup on. Putting
Always.
on CGI, not so fun. You
yeah.
need the makeup.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's right.
but there is a perfect marriage between CGI and practical makeup. For example, The Walking Dead, they would have a green screen thing here, and then they would do the makeup here, and then that's where they would make the jaw kind of come off
Oh,
the face,
right.
but it looked good
That
because
would
it
be
was
cool.
both, and
Yeah.
not one or the other. So I think that's when CGI can work. I know you didn't ask me that, but I'm just saying.
I'm glad you shared it.
Thanks.
And that way I didn't have to think about asking you that.
Yeah.
This is where things get weird in the final 10 minutes or so because we're struggling to
You
figure out what
mentioned
we should
Rocky
talk
Horror,
about.
but we are.
You guys are doing that
We've
again?
already booked it.
Oh,
I think
excellent.
October 26th, I believe. It's a Saturday night.
Day for that.
So yeah, we locked that in because apparently that's a good
Big
one.
deal.
Yeah.
It gets messy in here, I
It gets
bet.
messy, yes. Yes, we were debating, like, do we do 2 screenings or just one? We're going to do one in our big theater, and if you don't get tickets, then you miss out. But I think it'll be like a sold-out event.
Does that draw in an older crowd or all ages
I
kind
think
of
all
thing?
ages. We actually, because our newspaper shut down in November, we actually have a stockpile of some newspapers upstairs specifically for the prop bag.
Oh, that's right. Is that
Because
part of the
use-
one of the
yes,
things you
it's
have
one
to
of the
do?
props, yeah.
Toast and toast.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, I think there's toast. There's toilet paper also stashed upstairs.
That's the pandemic stash up there, isn't it?
Well, at first, that's what I thought when I was telling you when I first started here. I did a bit of a cleanup upstairs, and I was like, "Why is there all this toilet paper?" But it was more for Rocky Horror.
Oh, that's where all the pandemic toilet paper was. It wasn't stockpile. It was just people getting ready for the Rocky Horror Show.
Maybe. You never know.
That's funny.
Yeah. But
What?
Well, I'm hoping you'll have some questions because I'm dry.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, fun fact.
Yeah.
Did you know my grandpa used to work here as a projectionist?
I just learned that tonight. Yes, and I was actually saying to Todd that the projectionist who used to work here gave me a cool tour
That's right.
of the projection rooms maybe 3 months ago. So yeah, it is a small world.
Small world.
Very small world. And it was really cool to have your grandpa talk about what it was like to be a projectionist back in the day.
Yeah.
It was unionized. They were paid well. It was very hard to actually become a projectionist. Like you had to get so many, I can't remember, like hundreds of hours of apprentice time before you could actually
Right.
become an official.
Because you've got to like time the switching of the reels
Oh,
and stuff
yeah.
like that really precisely. Otherwise, there's like a gap in the film
It was also a dangerous career.
because it could burn.
Flammable.
It was insanely flammable because the old film reels, so not only was the actual celluloid flammable, but like way back in the day, they used to use those sort of the equivalent of like, arc welding, like how they
Yeah.
spark a welder.
Oh, and that's what would be the illumination
That was the illumination
around all of this flammable stuff.
So it's like
wow.
right in front of this flammable stuff. And actually, because when I first started working here, I was like, what's with these doors? Like some of these old doors are like super heavy, solid metal, like almost bomb proof.
And
And they have these funny little like black hooks with these strings that go from the door to like the wall. And it was actually your grandpa that explained that those were fuses. So if there was a fire that broke out, the little string that kind of held the door open would burn first, the doors would shut, and only the projectionist would perish.
Oh my God. I'm glad he survived.
So it's apparently they were super hot. A lot of them worked in their underwear because it was just like sweating hot up there with all the heat and everything. So yeah, I mean, and again,
That's
like even just the film reels would arrive in these 20-minute canisters, and then you had to build them up. So you had to put the film together into like the hour and a half film. Then or even you had to like have the 2 projectors. Like way back in the day, you had 2 projectors and you had one film running on one, and then there would be like a little flash up in the corner of the screen that the projectionist had to look for, and that was the signal to start the other projector. And if you did it right, no one would notice that you just switched projectors and switched
they're
reels.
big wheel things, right?
Right, yeah.
It's been a
But
while.
it's a very cool profession. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
fun
I used to
talking
watch movies. I remember watching Casino. It was really like, it was like, I saw a guy get his brains blown out, and I was like little. But anyway, I watched that movie through a little.
I'm sure it had
screen.
no impact on you.
It did. Look at me. But yeah, the windows changed. I think they got bigger. I
this
swear
theater?
the window was like
Well,
this big.
in the main theater, they're smaller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so this building, the Paramount Theatre, is celebrating its 70th birthday
Right, yeah.
in March. So we are hoping to do a very big hurrah celebration. We're still kind of figuring out what that is, but I have a feeling that it will involve your grandpa in some way because he is part of the history here. And so we're looking for ways to kind of bring out that history and share that history with Kamloops and the broader community,
Very
and kind
neat.
of show some of those behind the scenes and kind of show some of those stories and different community members' connections to the theater. So, it should be fun.
I'm so curious what it's like up there now. Like, it must be just, you just press a button? Like, it's just all digital,
It's
right?
all digital, so
Yes,
it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
But
Almost
yeah,
anybody can do the job now.
almost. I mean, it is like.
You don't have to
I
do it in
don't-
your underwear, but you can.
Yeah, not encouraged at this day and age. The digital projectors are very noisy because they do have fans. You have to maintain them like on a regular basis. Actually, we were just talking about getting our projectors serviced because one of them was like getting a little overheated lately. So yeah, it's just a different, like instead of arriving on physical film reels, you get DCPs, which are these like digital hard drives, and they either come in a physical format or they get delivered virtually. And then you also get a key, and then the key unlocks the film for the specific dates that you're planning on showing it to avoid like pirating and illegal duplication and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a different world now.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what my grandpa would think of how it's done now.
I mean,
Probably
it's
scoff at it. Kids these days
a lot easier, I guess.
can't run a damn
Real
projector.
men did.
And put their lives on their line for cinema.
Right?
But yeah, not that anyone cares, but he wanted to bring home this pipe, but you can't because you guys need it here. But every time I would visit, they would like measure me, and I grew like pretty tall one year.
Are the
come
marks
upstairs
of
and
your growth still on that pipe
I
to this
think
day, do you
so.
think?
Oh, you'll have to show me after
or
this.
maybe they might be at the. So he worked at the Odeon as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it might be at the Odeon.
Apparently he worked at all the cinemas at one time. Like you could kind
Yeah.
of work. You could do a matinee here. You could do like,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess so. If it's unionized, I guess.
and then you would move around because he has stories. And I guess his brother too was also a projectionist.
reminding me
Yeah.
about my family.
He gave me the full
should've known
tour.
that.
And then also one of our volunteers have like we interviewed your grandpa. We have a video interview that we're hoping to like edit and share at some point.
Lou
But-
Tessier. Hello,
Yes.
Lou Tessier.
Shout
Love you,
out to
Grandpa.
Lou.
And Grandma. You're
Yeah.
married to him. So. Hello.
And Grandma Tessier is one of our big supporters, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm making sure
That's
I'm
great.
getting the grandmas right.
Yeah. So lots of fun stuff.
That
Lots
is
of
fun stuff,
history.
yeah.
And yeah.
Do you want to say hello to your children?
Oh, to my kids.
Or your husband?
Oh, sure. They would love that. Yeah, I have 2 kids. So hello, Felix.
Hi, Felix.
And my daughter, Stella.
Stella.
Bella.
And my husband, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Well, and maybe
hi, Mark.
my in-laws, Karen and Carl Abbott, who actually they live. They're neighbors with your grandpa.
So small.
Yeah,
Small world, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Your turn.
Oh, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Todd's mom. Hi, Todd's
Hi.
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 Todd's brother. They're met.
Who's probably not watching. Hi.
Hi, Todd. That's right.
Well, I can tell everyone where to find out more about
Yes, please do.
So our website is a great place to start. It's thekfs.ca.
Okay.
We are on Facebook and on Instagram. We have a mail list that you can join for updates and whatnot. And yeah, you
People can sign up for membership on the
can
website,
sign up for membership.
buy tickets on the
Buy
website.
tickets. They can donate to our Opera Foundation. We're also raising money to replace the seats in our theater because these are quite old.
Yeah.
They're comfortable, though.
They're not bad.
They're not bad.
They're very vintage. I actually don't mind the looks. I like the teal color palette in the other theater a little bit better, but they're not terrible. But I think, some of them, they're showing their age. So
Yeah.
we need to do a few upgrades.
How much progress has been made on that sort of fundraising? Is it sort of like floundering
That
along,
one,
or
I feel like we sort of like started off strong, and then obviously there was a change of executive directors, and so now I'm just kind of starting to pick it up again.
Gotcha.
So we're kind of hoping, and then I feel like we have a nice opportunity between now and next March when the building is turning 70. We just celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Kamloops Film Society this spring, so we're celebrating all the milestones, and it's a good time to kind of generate some fundraising dollars and kind of celebrate where we are.
when do you guys do your AGM?
October. Yeah,
Okay.
like end of October, beginning of November. So yeah, if you're a member, then you get to vote and you get to come out.
Do the what?
The
The
annual
AGM,
general
annual general meeting.
Oh,
if you want to be on the board or if you want to vote for the board.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we'll have a few board positions coming up. So
Okay.
that's always an option.
And what about if people are interested in like sitting on the Thursday film series committee or stuff like that?
So yes, I would say definitely reach out. You can always find my email on the website and reach out. So we have so many volunteer opportunities. We sort of have, if you are excited about, helping to put together one of our micro festivals, those are very volunteer run. Our Kamloops Film Festival in March, so many volunteers. We have like a festival committee, and then just volunteers help run. Like I think we have over 100 volunteers to help out with that.
I'm sure.
So
yeah.
there's just lots of opportunities. And depending on what you're interested in, if you like to be behind the scenes and kind of not public facing, we got volunteer opportunities for that. If you like to be like greeting people as they're walking into the theater, and we have theater usher opportunities. So there's lots of stuff.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Is there a costume opportunity?
Oh, we encourage costumes for a lot of our events. We had a Star Wars day. We did a May the 4th screening. We had LARPers. You know what a LARPer is?
Yes. Vaguely, yeah.
I did not know. A live action
Role-playing.
role-playing performer or something. They came dressed in their Star Wars garb with their lightsabers. So
Did you have a lightsaber battle?
they did, yeah. Cool.
Very cool.
Everything, yeah.
Cool.
So lots of opportunities. How are we doing for time? Are we?
I think we're
We're
good.
pretty good.
I think it's 6:30. We've been at it for an hour.
Great.
Thank you so much
Oh, thank you.
for
Went
hanging out with
faster
us. Yeah, and it wasn't too painful until the last 10 minutes where we got a little awkward.
We made it.
We made it through.
What was that for the last minute?
Nothing. It was perfect. You're right. It's always the funnest part. Thanks for putting up with us.
Hey, it was fun.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.